Hi.
Hi.
Hey, beauty. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Did you have a
Hold on,
good
I'm just going
day?
to turn the volume up
Okay.
real quick. Okay.
Did you have a good day?
I did. Yeah. Thank you.
Uh, I received so many varied questions for you. They're all
Yeah.
over the map. They're like all over the map, which is really, really fun.
I love that.
I
That's
love
great.
it. I was on your restaurant site and I saw something about sweatshirts. Will you please tell us all about that?
Yeah. So, my brother has he has actually a couple clothing companies. One is Painkiller, which they do sports apparel, and Autumn Studios. So I recently did a collaboration with him, and it was all using like Johnny Miller's artwork from our book.
Oh,
So, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Are
there's
the
so many
pieces
facets.
still available, Angie?
They are still available. Yeah, you would have to go on Autumn Studios site for it, but they're
Autumn
absolutely
Studios? Okay, we're gonna link that in the
Autumn
show.
Studios, and they are available. And also Painkiller, he's also like right now he's making masks to keep all of his sewers employed. So a lot of that revenue is going directly back into small businesses and restaurants like mine.
Yeah, amazing. Because I saw
Yeah.
I saw a pop up on the Beatrice Insight,
Uh-huh.
and then I was like, where do I buy one of these amazing sweatshirts and support?
Yeah.
And I didn't see anything, so it's on their site.
Yeah,
right?
we sold out originally. I mean, we only did like 150 pieces, and they came out in like October, November. But then we decided to do a second run on it. Yeah.
How many different styles are there, or is there one style?
There's only like maybe 8 pieces. Yeah, there's only maybe 8 pieces, but they're great.
So they're just different Polaroids, like from the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So great. So great. How's it going at the restaurant? I was thinking that I was gonna venture out this week to go walk over and get some takeout.
Yeah, you absolutely should.
Everything's
going great. It is, we're doing dinner service, and we're going to open up for lunch Wednesday of this week, I think. So we're right now.
For lunch takeout.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great. So 2 meals a day. That's amazing. And what time do you start during the day, Angie? And then what time do you close at night?
So lunch service will be opening on Wednesday from 11:30 to 3:30, and then dinner is from 5 to 9.
Nice. Okay. Let's first talk about your milk braised pork shoulder.
Okay.
Can you help me? Let's kind of go through the recipe together. I have all the ingredients here. We can do a little show and tell. But first, I don't think I can make the recipe while we're talking because we have so many questions for you. But I have all the ingredients and I want to kind of go through it. But first, I would like for you to tell us the story of your milk braised pork shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, people should buy the book. How about that?
Yeah. Well,
people should buy the book. The story's in there.
We have a link to the book in the show notes for the podcast.
Cool. So that's like my first recipe that I ever really mastered. I started cooking it when I was 15, and just really, it's have been perfecting it over the years.
And you used to make it as a kid, right?
Yeah, I used to make it when I started making it when I was 15.
It's amazing. Okay, take us through all the steps. Like, what's the first step? Here I have a pork shoulder. I bought the right thing, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. So, I mean, if I was cooking that one at home, I would probably break it up into like 3 or 4 pieces. I would season it really well, and I would leave it overnight. I mean, everybody is like so into this, like 20-minute meal Food Network bullshit, and it's like it can't be that. It's like good food takes good time. Yeah. So that's something that's really, really important. So I typically with my braises, I season it, let it sit overnight, and then I braise it the next day, and then I honestly let the braise rest for a whole other day, so like 3 days. But it's well worth it. It's so much better when it has that time.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. I have everything here, and I'm going to let it kind of do its thing. So the first step is to season it. And you say with like doing it at home, right? You cut it into pieces.
That one I would cut it into like bigger chunks. You know,
Okay.
it just looks a little big. But yeah, I would season it with salt, and then I would let it sit overnight. You then, you know, the next day you're gonna brown it in a hot pan.
Like one of these, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So you're gonna brown it. It just, you know, all sides like really nice and golden. Deglaze it with white wine, and then.
Okay. Angie, I have a question. I have muscadet, and I have
No muscadet.
no muscadet, and I have chablis.
Chablis.
Okay, it's a dry muscadet, but I have a muscadet. Okay. So wine and what else?
So you're gonna deglaze it with wine, and then you're gonna put the pot or the meat back into the pot. Add all of the ingredients. So you've got like onions, bay leaves, sage, thyme.
Right?
Is that a red onion?
It is. It's all I had. Not good.
Okay.
Yellow.
Might be okay. Yeah, yellow. Better.
Yellow is better than red if you have it.
Yeah. Garlic.
Yeah.
Bay leaves.
Bay leaves. I have 2 bay leaves, right?
Yep.
Does it matter dried or fresh?
You know, I always prefer fresh. You could definitely use dry, but I mean, I think that fresh. I never do dried herbs really.
I find
Always
that
fresh.
it's so hard to find fresh bay leaf.
I don't think so, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe where I'm ordering from these days.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm such a chef. I don't really go to the grocery stores.
Yeah. So then the other herbs are
Sage, thyme,
and thyme,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, and then they all go into like a cheesecloth bundle. Is that correct? They go into a
Yeah,
sachet.
you're gonna make a sachet.
So I have my sachet, and then there's milk and there's half and half, correct?
Milk and heavy cream.
Heavy
No, half
cream.
and half.
Sorry. So
Yeah.
heavy cream and milk. And then can you explain? And then also some chicken stock, right?
Yep.
Can you explain what a cartouche is? When I was looking through the recipe, I was like, I have never come across this. And it's something you do with parchment paper, correct? Like you.
Yeah, you basically make just like a parchment paper lid. That's it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I told you I'm very French, very old French man. So.
Yeah, totally old French. I have a question though myself actually before we launch into everybody else's. What's the deal like once and for all with olive oil and high heat cooking? Like there was this whole thing of like doesn't have a high enough smoke point and it can go rancid or something. But I'm so confused about all that. What is the deal with
Yeah, I mean, you know, every oil has its different smoke points. So, you know, olive oil isn't going to go as high as maybe canola oil, you know. But I mean, and butter has like a very low smoke point. So, I mean, I cook over medium high heat always.
Okay.
I don't typically go super high. I don't like that.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, but you'll be fine on medium high heat.
Okay, perfect. And I have a question about, I mean, you probably can't see this oven, but I have like a French door oven and it's a double oven. And they look different in the interior. It's a new oven for me. I actually just had it for a few months.
I've never seen that.
You have it. What's the difference? I mean, I'm trying to figure out like what the difference is between cooking in this double door French oven than it is to cook in a regular oven.
I have no clue.
We don't know.
I have no
ask
clue.
Viking.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the questions.
Sure.
We have a bunch from Randall,
Okay.
who is a huge fan of yours. And I mean, his first question is, for home chefs out there, what are the most important things to do for a great at-home steak? Is it possible, I love it, this is funny, is it possible to take a Costco steak and age it? Will it matter, or does the source quality matter above all?
I mean, I grew up off of Costco steak, so I'm not going to discriminate. I did. Like, I grew up off of Costco steak. So first of all, when you're getting steak, like if you were to get steak from Costco and it's already pre-cut, you can't age it. Okay, you can't dry age it. Dry aging has to be done in primal cuts. So, you know, Randall, if you were going to get, like, let's say a whole prime rib at Costco, and it's a whole rack of 7 bones, you could definitely dry age that. but or like a whole short loin with like the T-bone and the porterhouse and the New York strips in, you could age that. But as far as like aging individual steaks, you can't actually do that.
That's interesting. Right. And then do you cook over the fire or in the broiler? And what is the minimum rest time, do you think, Angie? Like,
well, it would depend
on the cut of meat, right?
You were cooking. It would depend what you were cooking. I mean, my rule of thumb is always 50% rest time for the amount of time that you cooked it. So if it took 12 minutes to cook, I would rest it for 6.
That's a really good tip.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but your rest time is going to be different for everything. I mean, it really depends on what you're cooking and what the how long it took to cook.
Yeah. And then 2 months ago, Randall's asking about this, not on the topic of cooking, but 2 months ago when you were in London for a week-long pop-up and COVID-19 just started, you were accosted for being Asian.
Yeah.
What exactly happened, and has anything like that ever happened before to you?
It's really interesting. I grew up in South Seattle. I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood, and now I lived in LA for a long time, and now I live in New York. So, I've truly never seen color or religion or gender or sexuality. It doesn't really register. But it's tremendously unfortunate that right now during this time, during a global pandemic, racism and xenophobia are really at the forefront. And, it saddens me that especially the leadership within our country is so founded in racism, and, it's just furthering, there's just so much hate out there. It really, it has to stop. But, that, and I think, we talked about it on our podcast the other day.
We did.
With like the whole Allison Roman, Chris.
Yes, I mean, one of the things, guys, that we talk about on this podcast, once we wrap up our chat, the podcast will go live, and we discuss a lot of different topics. We also have a link in the show notes to some of Angie's favorite things, including her book, and some other things that she talks about. Patrick, Angie's so badass. So we have that. But one of the things we talked about was that there is a recent, food industry related kind of issue that popped up on social media between food writer Allison Roman calling out Chrissy Teigen and Marie Kondo for being sellouts for having had created product lines.
Well, she also made fun of Marie Kondo's Japanese accent.
She did? I didn't realize that.
Well, it was later taken out of the interview, but this is what I'm saying. It's just like the leadership in our country. There's just this underlying tone of racism, and the fact that people with this amazing platform like Allison are playing into that. The fact that she just she's furthering that notion of underlying racism and hate it's just not okay.
No, it's not. Sylvia, we're moving on to Sylvia, who says, any idea how you will approach service and seat diners after COVID-19 lifts?
Yeah. No, because we haven't really gotten any direction from the government yet. And, it's all going to depend on what kind of restrictions they're going to put in place to keep everybody safe. So
is this stuff though that internally you guys are discussing every day? I would think or just kind of taking it day by day, trying to figure out.
We're taking it day by day. I mean, right now we don't even know when New York is going to reopen yet, and restaurants are phase 3 for reopening here, and for me, it's like I know that a lot of states are opening right now. I mean, I was just on a conference call with somebody who is in Texas, and he said that restaurants are at full capacity right now, even when they're not supposed to be. And
wow.
It's really scary, and I think that the one conversation that we are having on a day-to-day basis at the Beatrice is how to reopen and how to reopen safely for both our employees and our guests.
Yeah. It's interesting. I wonder when phase 3 is going to happen. Like what do we think that's going to be? Is that like in August? I mean, I think we're all trying to put like a date or a time on this, but who knows, right?
Yeah, who knows?
I don't know. I think it's like, I don't know. I'm thinking about the end of the summer or sometime around that point.
Yeah,
Seems
I,
logical.
I would venture to say that you're accurate with
Yeah,
that.
it seems logical to me. Gwen, tell me about what your restaurant is cooking for takeout. I live in LA and I wish I was in New York to sample the takeout menu.
Well, I'm obviously doing a lot of our staples. So, the 45-day dry aged burger, our roast duck, the off menu fried chicken, all of those things are absolutely still there. And I'm changing the menu every day. I'm doing specials every day, which is, has been really fun for me, because it's really been about, what I want to cook and what I want to eat and what I'm interested in and, what the weather is like right now.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, you very much stay true to who you are always. But if
Always,
there's something about the current climate that makes you really, I think all of us maybe drill down a little bit more into like what's important, who we are, what we want to do, what doesn't make sense anymore, and you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have another LA question. Do you have any
Okay.
restaurants in LA that you love and would recommend?
Yes. That's the easy one. Juanita's Cafe. If you guys don't know about Juanita's, it is, everybody always thinks that because I'm a chef, I must be going out and doing like really, really fancy meals all the time.
Right.
And that is, sometimes, when I travel. But honestly, when I'm in LA, I'm all about the Mexican food. Like that is all I want. I lived there for, 10 years and I just love it. So Juanita's Cafe is this amazing little place downtown and they have like the best pupusas. So you guys have to hit that up.
Okay, great. Is that one of the things that you miss about living in LA, all the fabulous Mexican food?
I miss that.
Can we get any of it here in New York or no?
Yeah, I mean there are some good places. I mean, I've got like a couple of favorite taco trucks. I don't.
Oh, you do?
They're not out right now. And,
where are they usually? Where are those?
There's usually, I think the best taco truck in New York City is on 14th and 8th. It's amazing. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know.
It's really good.
Leah, what's an easy and delicious way for me to cook and serve ribeye steaks? How do I prepare them and what should I serve with them? I bought a lot for quarantine.
Yeah. So I have, Leah, you're a girl after my own heart because I love ribeyes. I think that the best way to do ribeyes is to pan sear them. I think they're amazing. And I always pan sear mine medium rare. And actually in Butcher and Beast, there's a really great recipe for ribeye with blistered blackberries and charred prawn butter. It's one of the signatures at our restaurant.
Yes, I love that. The blackberries. So pan sear. So not just pan sear it the whole time on the stove and don't put it in the oven. Like just do.
You could. I mean, you could if you wanted. Again, it depends on it. There's a million ways that we could cook beef, but
right.
It's like, how thick is the steak? If the steak
right.
is like, that thick, then I would cook it in a pan. If it's that thick, I would put it in the oven.
Okay, that's the big. So that's the big difference. That's the big difference. Okay, that's good to know. Lisa, what would you suggest I make for my boyfriend for his birthday? We live together in quarantine in the West Village in New York City, and he's a total foodie. He eats everything.
I mean, you could let me cook for him, Lisa. You order takeout. I mean, I'll cook for you.
Right. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
There you go.
I think, let's see, for his birthday, I don't know. I always love something really nostalgic and simple for my birthday.
Oh, you do? Okay,
I do. I do. Yeah. I like something that's like really, really simple and nostalgic. I think, I like my birthday is coming up. So one of the things that like I want is I just want to like sit at home and like make that black spaghetti with langoustines. Like that's what I want. Like pop a bottle of champagne.
That recipe is actually on the website. We can link to that, and we should link to that in the show notes as well. One of the other recipes that we're putting up on the site this week is your shallot tart. Yes. And I love that you drink champagne with everything. I mean,
everything.
With everything. I mean, I agree. Tell us a little bit about the shallot tart. Speaking of recipes that people can find on storyandread.com.
Yeah. You know, the shallot tart I love. I actually, we're opening up for lunch on Wednesday, and I'm actually making that as, you know, one of the items for lunch.
Perfect.
It's fantastic. You know, it is just, there's something about Alliums that I just love. So like these really beautiful caramelized shallots, you know, deglazed with beef stock and herbs. It's just, there's nothing better to it. And you know, also too, it's got a beef fat crust. So, you know, there really can't be anything bad about that.
Speaking of, while we're on the subject of onions, like with this milk, with your milk braised pork shoulder, this is another sort of question I guess I've always had. You like yellow onion for that braise more
For
than
everything.
like for everything. Okay, for
Yeah.
everything. So why is it better than red in this case? Or you just like yellow onion? It's just
I
more.
think the flavor is a little bit more mild. I think red onions have a little bit more of a bite to them. And
Oh, that's so funny. I always thought red onions were the ones that were supposed to be mild.
no, I don't know. I feel like red onions, I want to eat them raw, and I want them like on a sandwich or a burger or something like that.
Yep.
But yeah, but like Spanish onions, yellow onions, I always like them, you know, those are best for braises.
Okay. Good to know. Carrie, Angie, can you remember the first restaurant dish that you tasted that impressed you?
Oh, 100%. I was in Paris, and I was maybe like 7 or 8 years old, and I had a veal kidney dish, and I didn't know that they were kidney. I just ate whatever, you know, I was put in front of me. And it was veal kidneys with cognac and cream. It's very, very classic French. And I petitioned my parents to stay in France that year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love that you had those.
I had a speech prepared. I had the whole thing.
But I love that you had that palate like right out of the gate. You were like, this dish screams me.
Yeah.
Eddie, how long did it take in total for you to get the keys to the Beatrice Inn? What was that process like? We definitely talk about this on the podcast, but maybe you want to talk a little bit about like the length of time it took to actually take over a landmark restaurant.
Yeah.
And from an owner, you know, from a prominent owner as well.
Right. Yeah, you know, it took me a while to negotiate. I mean, you know, any deal takes a long time because you've got to deal with lawyers, you've got to negotiate, you've got to do the whole thing, you've got to get permits, you know. I mean, I think all in all it took me maybe like a year and a half to purchase it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nancy, this is like, now just to change the subject completely. Normally I like organize these according to topic, but this one was sort of a one-off. Nancy wants to know, what's the pink lip gloss you wear? I need it.
The one that I'm wearing now?
Yeah, the one that you, I guess, wear in a lot of your photos, I'm assuming, or in your book, maybe?
It's actually, what is it? It's actually not pink. It's more of like a coral color. But it's NARS. And I actually can't remember what the name is now.
A coral from NARS. Okay.
Yeah, but I mix it. That's the thing, is I mix it. Of
course you do.
Yeah, I don't do anything just like straight.
No.
I mix it. I mix it with By Terry, with the rose lip balm.
I love By Terry products.
Love By Terry. It's the best.
No, I love it too. I need to own more By Terry products. They're great. What product from By Terry, in case she wants to know? Can you remember what that one is?
It's the rose lip balm. Yeah, just the classic.
Oh,
lip balm.
I have that. It's really good.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Cleo, would you ever do a food series or documentary, and have you ever been approached to do one?
Yes, absolutely. I've been approached in the past, and you know, I'm the type of person that, you know, I don't do anything unless it feels really right. Mm-hmm. At the time, or I have enough bandwidth at the time, because I, you know, as thin as I spread myself, I usually give 110% to everything, and I think it shows with a lot of the things that we put out, and yeah, you know, I guess, you know, the right project hasn't come along yet, but I think when it does, I'll know, and you know, yeah, absolutely, I would be open to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important to take your time with, like you said, have enough time to put all your creativity into that, and then find the right people to produce that for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Violet, on the same topic, which food documentaries or shows would you suggest I binge or watch in quarantine? Is there anything that you love, Angie?
Yeah, Chef's Table France.
Oh.
Yeah, if you guys haven't watched Chef's Table France, it's amazing.
Is that a new installment of Chef's Table, or has that been out for a
No,
while?
it's been out for a while. Yeah,
Okay.
it's been out for a while, but it's pretty fantastic. I mean, um, Larpage is in there. It's really really good.
Okay. Amy, I'm a chef and I loved your episode, same topic on food on television. Amy, I'm a chef and I loved your episode on David Chang's Ugly Delicious and would love to know your impressions of him or your perspective on him and his cooking.
I think Dave is fantastic. He's a friend of mine, and I think that what he's done and what he's built is fantastic. So, yeah, he's a good one.
Do you have a favorite type of food that he cooks, or what do you and David talk about? You and Chang?
Well, honestly, whenever I talk to him lately, it's been about Hugo, his son. So yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I think look, one of my first food memories when I moved to New York and I was like, just starting to eat out and all of that was Dave's Pork Bun. It is and always will be, the thing. So yeah, his food is fantastic.
Yeah, it's so good. I worked with him once really briefly when I was a stylist and he was doing a show that I was styling. Julie, again, on the topic of chefs, are you friends with many chefs and who are you friends with?
I think that it's a really small industry and we all know each other. I am not as social, as you might think. A lot of my friends are in fashion, or publishing. So, but yeah.
I was going to say that one of the things that we cover on the podcast is that you have a really varied group of friends.
Yeah, I have a very eclectic group of friends.
You have eclectic, and like me, I'm the same way. I have a hugely varied friend group.
Yeah.
Another chef question: which chefs do you admire and why?
It's a good question. Andre Soltner is somebody who I deeply, deeply admire. I think a lot of people don't really realize what he did for the culinary industry and for dining, in New York. But, one of the things that I really identify with Andre is that, when he had Lutece, he was cooking things that, people weren't too familiar with. He was really paving the way. And his restaurant was, considered extremely extravagant at the time. And I think it was like back in the day, I think Mimi Sheridan told me that their lunch menu was like $13.65 or something like that.
Wow.
And, that was for a 3-course pre-fee. And it was a huge scandal because, nobody had ever charged that much before. And so, and Andre said, but this is my work and this is what it is. And you know what, I'm worth it. And there's so much love and passion that goes into his food. So I identify a lot with him.
You can relate.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of similarities between what he did and what we do at the Beatrice.
Mina wants to know, what food-related accounts do you follow on Instagram? Who does it well and why? I like that question.
That is a really.
You have a beautiful Instagram account.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful and interesting. Full of
Thank you.
Full
Yeah,
of
it's eclectic as well.
Yeah.
Obviously New York Times, cooking, food and wine, Bon Appetit. I stopped really following a lot of like food bloggers,
food personalities.
Food bloggers, because I don't know. I guess I didn't really find it interesting. I think that there's a lot of food accounts that are really dedicated to like bigger and better and how many burger sliders can we fit in this,
or just
Mary?
viral
Yeah,
trend.
you know what I mean? So I don't follow anything that's really trendy like that, because I honestly think it's kind of silly. And I don't really think that's food. I don't really think that constitutes as like cuisine.
Yeah, there's definitely like a food there are food trends on social media that are.
Yeah, there's food trends on social media. Like, you know, I can't stand that like rainbow cake that you cut and like the Skittles fall out. Like, I don't understand it. But
it's the flower shop cake that keeps on giving. And it's like everyone's doing a how-to video on how to make.
Yeah, I can't stand that. But Nigel Slater, if you guys don't follow Nigel Slater, you should absolutely follow his Instagram. I don't know how many Americans really know about him, but he is an amazing chef, an amazing writer from the UK, and he is just, his books, if you ever have the chance to read them, are so brilliant and so transportive and so soulful.
Perfect.
And his Instagram is the same way.
We'll link to both of those in the show notes to the podcast as well. That's a great tip. I'm sure James will love that. What cuisines are your favorites? I know a little bit about this because we talked about it, but what cuisines are your favorites?
You know, I am, so growing up in South Seattle, I was kind of exposed to everything. And, you know, my neighborhood was extremely multicultural. So, you know, I love all food. I mean, that's really kind of the answer is I love all food. I think that, you know, if, you know, French food is obviously what I love because, you know, my food is based in French cuisine. But if I were going out to eat, I mean, you know, I love anything from, you know, Chinese food, because I'm Chinese. So anything from Chinese, Taiwanese food to, you know, Ethiopian is one of my favorite cuisines. So I you know, I think cooking and food it's a love language.
Yes. Is there an Ethiopian restaurant that you love in New York that?
There used to be one. Well, I mean, I don't know. Everything's closed right now, but there was one that was like right around the corner from the Beatrice in Jeddah, and that was amazing. Yeah.
Evelyn is asking, what holidays do you look forward to each year?
Thanksgiving.
What do you make for Thanksgiving?
Oh, my Thanksgiving is crazy. Yeah.
Can you tell me? Tell me what your Thanksgiving is.
I'm
so curious.
Yeah, our Thanksgiving is crazy. So my restaurants never open on Thanksgiving or Christmas, but we do the back room of the Beatrice, and it is about 25 people. We do like one long, great big table down the room, and it's a potluck. Everybody brings food.
Oh, it's a potluck. I thought you were going to say that you made this like elaborate menu for your nearest and dearest.
No, everybody cooks.
But what do you contribute to it?
I do all the meats, obviously. I do all the meats. Yeah, I do all the meats, and I always make pies. So I think actually everybody usually brings a pie, and last year I think we had like 24 pies or something like that.
Wow, you're kidding me.
No, we don't. Yeah, excess is something that runs in the family. So.
Totally. How many meats do you guys do as well?
There's always a prime rib. There's always a lamb, and there is always duck. There is always roast duck.
So no turkey or turkey?
No, I do a turkey out of tradition. I do a turkey out of tradition, but it usually ends up in congee the next day. And yeah.
Do you stuff the turkey with anything or no?
Just herbs and lemon.
I have a friend whose family stuffs their turkey with rice. So
yeah, that's got to be delicious.
Yeah. Toya asks, when you get takeout, what do you order?
Korean.
Oh.
Yeah, Korean. I usually do Korean or sushi. And if my past assistants will tell you this, if I'm having like a rough day, it'll usually be like fettuccine alfredo and a Coke.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
That's so classic. That's very classic. My favorite Korean restaurant closed down. But I'm sure, do you remember Doc Suni?
No, I never went there.
She reopened in Brooklyn, and I forgot her name. It's slipping my mind, but I'm sure you know who this is. Anyway, Jordan is asking, she loves all of your cookbook and all of its stories. Do you have any concepts for books you would like to do down the line?
I absolutely do, and I would say stay tuned.
Stay tuned. So you've thought about that. You've thought about your books in a big picture way. And
yeah.
Like this is book number 1. You know, this is where I see my books going. You've got a trajectory in mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Another question from Glenn: which of your awards and honors have you treasured the most, and why?
You know, I think that's a really good question. You know, I don't love one more than the other. I think that they're all really special to me for different reasons. You know, I think the New York Times review that we got was especially meaningful for me, because you know the Beatrice had already been reviewed. You know, Pete Wells had already gone there, tried it, told the world not to go there, and then you know, and then I came along and I bought it, and so you know, the honor of having the Times come to your restaurant, let alone write about it, let alone write a love letter about it.
A love letter.
It was a love letter, 100%.
It
So,
was
you know, the
life-changing.
honor, yeah, the honor of having that person, you know, that whoever the critic might be at the time, the honor of having that critic come in is something that a lot of people wait a lifetime for and never get. And the fact that he came in after I bought the restaurant and re-reviewed it was, you know, it's almost unheard of. So for me, it was a huge thing. It was a huge honor. And also too, you know, Food and Wine Best New Chef was something that has always been tremendous for me. And, you know, the accolade is wonderful, but really what I think is most wonderful about it is that I was very much welcomed into a family.
Yes.
You know, I was welcomed into a family, and it's that relationship alone, that familial sense alone is, you know, it's
so
meant more
rewarding.
to me. Yeah, it's so rewarding.
Jesse, have you ever had to make, I'm curious myself, I'm sure you have. Have you ever had to make a special meal for a VIP guest at the B, and what was it?
Well, everything is special. And if Jesse meant like, you know, if I had to like make like a egg white omelet for somebody because they requested it, I don't do that. I don't care who it is.
So if somebody said, you know, I would like the duck flambe with the flambe on the side, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like you don't ever make any, do you make anything? I guess maybe the question was more not, do you take any special requests from VIPs? Are there things that people come in for and want, like double of or soup? Like, I don't know. Yeah.
No.
All right. There you go.
No. Look, the food is the food, and you know, I think that you know, my team and I have worked so hard to really refine the menu and put so much love and care in every single dish that I just don't really see the need to change anything. And one of the things that I think is kind of understood when you come to the restaurant, it's that you're really surrendering yourself to an experience. It's not just what's on your plate, it's the music, the lighting, you know, the cocktails, the wine. You're surrendering yourself to an experience. And the one thing that I always say to people when they come in and they're like, oh, well, could you do, you know, I really like this. Could you do this for me? You know, the one thing that we always say is, look, we know you might like it this way, but if you've never been here, let us do what we do. Let us do what we do, and maybe you're going to like something that you didn't even know you wanted.
Right. I mean, that's the whole point of dining out in this
100%.
way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Christina, this is super specific. What menu would you propose for a late fall wedding? If you're doing...
Oh, a late fall wedding. You know,
I guess she's trying to pick her meal.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it really, like, what, if I was getting married or if she was getting married?
Yeah. I think she wants the Angie Mar perspective on what wedding food is like.
Yeah, for me, it would involve lots and lots of crustaceans and oysters and clams. You know, I've never met a raw bar that I didn't like.
Yeah.
So for me, you know, I think my ideal wedding, and any time that, you know, we throw a party or a feast, it's, you know, long tables with like amazing, you know, raw shellfish towers, and then of course lots of meat. Yeah.
Of course. Okay. Zoe, speaking of which, you sort of just touched on it, right? Describe the most fashionable private dinner you've ever done. I love that word, fashionable.
Mm.
I mean, you are connected to a lot of fashion. You have a lot of friends in fashion.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about a fashion party or a fashion event that you did? Most fashionable is what she
Yeah,
wants to
you
know.
know, a lot of we have so many very fashionable events that we do.
Yes.
Yeah, I typically don't kiss and tell. But honestly, I think that, probably the most fashionable event that I've done since we opened the Beatrice was honestly my book party.
I wanted to tell me about the book party.
It was crazy. I mean,
You actually mentioned it. Angie, you mentioned it on the podcast, and I remember wanting to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, the book party was crazy. I mean, it was. I had multiple book parties. I think I had like 3 different book parties.
For what purpose? Like, what were the different book parties? Like,
well, we had the main one, which was, it was October 3rd, and it was insane. I mean, I had shirtless cigarette boys handing out cigars. And
yes, whose idea was that?
Oh, mine, of course.
Oh
yeah.
my god!
No party should ever be complete without a shirtless cigarette boy handing out cigars.
You
ever.
heard it here.
Yeah, from my mouth to God's ears. Like that's
shirtless cigarette boys handing out what?
They were handing out cigars and champagne and beef bones.
See, that's a great thing for a wedding or any celebration, right?
Yeah.
And meatballs. Okay, go on.
No, not meatballs. Beef bones.
Oh. Beef bones.
Yeah, beef bones. No, like
beef,
like rib bones. No,
sound
meatballs.
like you.
No, I don't like
bones.
meatballs.
Explain that.
Just like big ribeye bones. Like just ribeye bones. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, no, so the party was, I mean, it was one of those like really tremendous New York nights,
Yes.
and
you know when you know them.
Yeah, I was like thinking about it the other day, and I was like, God, are we ever going to have parties like that again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had that conversation before with people. Where there's a whole, I mean, we talk a lot about this on the podcast too, is that I was saying on the podcast that like, I feel like you think in vibe, like you think in mood, you think in vibe. And I think that that's the mark of a true creative.
Yeah.
And a true artist is somebody that thinks like in that way, thinks of all those details, right? And so all those were present at your party, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was kind of like, it was very like 90s New York,
Yeah.
90s New York. It was like there were fashion people, there were food people, there were artists, there were writers, there were like regulars. It was very much like this beautiful melting pot, and it was the best party.
That's what we love about New York, right?
Yeah.
Brett, kind of a different question. What's your ultimate comfort food?
Steak and rice, honestly. Yeah.
Just the basics.
The
basics done well,
basics.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then Maya asks, what would you cook? I guess people are starting to think about these kinds of things. What would you cook as a summer barbecue meal? Do you barbecue? Do you get asked to do that kind of stuff? I know that summer, also on the podcast, we know that summer, if you know Angie, you know that summer is not necessarily like her month of choice, but or her season of choice rather. But what are you doing in the summer for cooking? Like, I would imagine that people are inviting you places and maybe asking you to, I don't know, barbecue, friends?
To work? To cook?
Friends. No, friends hanging out. No?
Yeah. No. Everybody that knows me knows that I stay in highly air conditioned places in the summer.
And what do you, let's talk about what do you eat in the summertime? Do you still eat the same things, but you're cooking at home and like the comfort?
No, I mean, we do a lot of like, I do a lot of like grilled lamb, like, stuff like that at the restaurant. Yeah. Like that's what we're doing is like more grilled meats. But yeah, I mean, I guess if I were to go to a barbecue, I'd probably bring some steaks and, I usually, like when we go to LA, I usually do that, fly my beef out from New York and cook at my brother's house.
Perfect. Kelly, what do you count to be the first successful recipe you ever made as a chef? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, as a chef of my own restaurant, it would probably be the duck, the duck flambe.
But maybe I think what Kelly's asking is maybe the first time you created a recipe as a chef and you found, you knew that it was successful, maybe the first time ever.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, so let's talk about this. So there's a difference, there's a difference between chef and cook. So
Yes.
I think that the chef is thrown, the word chef is thrown around like
A
just
lot.
like so
Yeah.
like whatever.
I think she
right?
means cook, probably, most likely.
Probably, yeah, she probably means cook. So yeah, I mean, yeah, but I want to finish my thought on this because I think people need to stop it. Yeah, you're a chef when you hold an executive chef position at a restaurant. That's when you get to call yourself chef, right?
Yes.
Everything else is just like you're a sous chef or a cook or whatever. You're not actually creating the food, right?
You're in prep, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, as a cook, I mean, look, cooking is all about like success and failure and trying, all these amazing different things. And so many of them might not work, right? I mean, I cook things all the time that don't work. And that's okay. I mean, that's part of the fun about it is that you have to, you have to just try. You just have to keep trying. I don't actually remember, what the first dish, I cooked was that was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But I've been cooking on a step stool since I was like 5. So
right. So,
yeah, I mean, if you want to know, it was probably like chocolate chip cookies or something like that.
Right. Years and years of cooking. Yeah.
Yeah, years of cooking.
Great answer for Kelly. And then our final question, Jimmy, what do you love most about the scene at the Beatrice Inn?
Oh God.
I mean,
Everything.
Right now, I think maybe, it's an interesting moment for you in your career right now, in owning and, leading this restaurant.
Yeah.
What is, the scene right now is not what the scene was.
No, but let's talk about the scene right now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the scene right now because that's what's relevant. And I think that they're actually, there's something to be said for that because so when the restaurant was open, and our lives were, before our lives, got put on pause, my favorite thing about the restaurant was the energy there. Like it was palpable. It was like, you would walk in and you would never know who you're going to see at what table. It was like something out of a movie and it was very classic New York. Right. And you can't, like that type of energy, you cannot buy that type of energy. There's no amount of money that can buy that.
It's authentic and it can't be.
It's authentic.
I mean, there are people that try to replicate energy like that.
It doesn't work.
You can't. The real deal is the real deal.
Yeah, there's something about the magic in it, So that's, before our lives got put on pause. And, right now I have to say, look, I'm really glad you ended on this question because this is something that I think, we should all be talking about, especially as leaders in the culinary industry is that, right now the world, our country, our industry, our people, we're all going through a tremendously, tremendously hard time. And, I keep going back to, what would we do, right? What would we do? Because I came home from London. I was here. We were closed for like, I think a week or something like that. And I kept going back and forth and I kept saying, what should we do? Should we open? Am I putting people's lives at risk? Is it safe? Am I putting my own life at risk, right? And the answer is that, yes, I am putting my life at risk and I am, whatever. But the thing is that, I feel very much that I am blessed beyond anything that I deserve. That is how I truly feel, is that I am blessed beyond anything that I deserve. And if I am not able to stand up and be here for my employees, for our community, for the city of New York, if I'm not able to right now at this moment when everyone is in their most vulnerable and their most, desperate time of need that we've seen maybe ever, if I wasn't able to do that and be there for them and provide a place for them so they are able to collect a paycheck and feed their children, so I'm able to feed the community, so I'm able to provide, my regulars a sense of normalcy, right? If I wasn't able to do that, then I'm not worth anything. That's very real. Then it's like. Then
why do it?
Well, then why do any of this? Right. Why do any of this? Because the city you know, the city, New York, our community, you know, even beyond New York, it's given me so much and given my restaurant so much that this is the opportunity to give it back to them. And that is what we all need to be doing right now, is giving it back. So to answer your question, that is truly my favorite scene right now at Beatrice, is the fact that we have turned it into a place of community and a place to give back.
Yes, and it's a place, you know, yeah, exactly, where you can be there for one another.
Absolutely.
Well, I am going to make my way over and get some food from you this week. I can't wait.
All right.
Guys, the podcast is now live, and you'll hear more of this conversation. We dig into a lot on the podcast, and it will be in our feed. It will be in stories, and listen to the rest of our conversation. Thanks so much, Angie.
Bye.
Bye.